Hakka Noodles is an Indo-Chinese stir-fry. It usually consists of pork mince, noodles and fish sauce. I like to use Hakka Noodles for this, and they're so easy to prepare. I'll take them out of the pack and pop them in some boiling water, and they're going to just sit here for about 3 minutes so they loosen up and they'll be ready by the time I finish this stir fry to add to the end. Now for the sauce, 2 varieties of soy sauce, dark to start with, about a teaspoon, 2 tablespoons of light soy sauce. I'm going to roughly measure that out. A little bit of Shaoxing wine, which is just Chinese cooking wine. For some sweetness, hoisin sauce, and I'll add a small amount along with 2 teaspoons of fish sauce, and for some extra sweetness, a little bit of caster sugar. This is also going to give us that lovely glossy finish on all of the ingredients, the noodles and the pork. Just to bring the whole thing together, a small amount of water, and then whisk to dissolve that sugar. And the sauce is done. So I'll put that to the side with our noodles. And now for the mushrooms. I'm a big fan of mushrooms. Asian variety of mushrooms are great for this stir fry. Enoki, look how wonderful they are. You don't need to do too much for them. I'll cut the base off just to separate them. And when you stir fry them, they start to go a little bit soft, but they still retain some crunchiness. And now for the king brown mushrooms. These are so meaty. I'm going to cut them into slices and then chop it the other way. So we've got big chunks. I might just use one because they're so large. And then the good old classic shiitake. You can use dried shiitake for this recipe, but if you can get your hands on fresh ones, by all means use them. If you are using dry, just rehydrate them in a little bit of water so they soften, and then drain them off. Don't forget with the mushrooms, it seems like quite a lot at this stage, but when I start stir frying them, they're going to shrink quite significantly. Just a few more things. The ginger, I'm going to slice and then just thinly slice into battens. I like a lot of ginger for this. And spring onions, 3 spring onions for this recipe, cutting them into 3-centimetre battens. And now we're ready to stir fry. I've been preheating a really large wok so it's smoking. I like to use vegetable oil for stir frying. You could also use peanut oil. Now for the pork mince, I'm just going to get a big clump of it in my hand and then separate it into little pieces. And I'll do this in batches. You don't want to overcrowd the pan. If you overcrowd the pan, this pork mince is going to stew as opposed to caramelise. And we'll just toss it until it changes colour from that light pink colour to white. All right, now we can add our garlic, ginger, and our spring onions. Just a little bit more oil. Ginger can go in first, then the garlic, and then our spring onions. And using your spoon, just toss that. We can now add our delightful mushroom mixture, the shiitake, enoki, and a little bit of 5-spice, Chinese 5-spice for this. Quick toss. And now the meat can go back in. Toss everything together, constantly shaking the pan. Now it's time to add our sauce. The whole lot can go in and allow that to bubble away, reduce, and it'll start to thicken also. It'll coat all of the meat and the mushrooms. See how much the mushrooms have cooked down? Fantastic. Let's prepare our noodles. They've been sitting in this hot water for about 3 minutes. Loosen the noodles up, and if the water's not too hot, you can almost get in there and just tease them apart, just so you don't break them up too much and crush the noodles. You'll see they'll easily come apart. These noodles are already cooked, so we're essentially just warming them back up and flavouring them with our delightful sauce. Drain that excess water off. It's done its job. Place that in there. One more. And then let's coat those noodles in all of that yummy flavour. A few more ingredients, a little bit of bok choy and some Chinese broccoli. Look how fresh this is. I like to use the stalks and all because there's so much flavour. Just cut the stalks up a little bit and then the leaves in half because they will wilt down. They can go in now. A few bean sprouts, And last but certainly not least, a little bit of coriander, and don't chop them, just tear them apart straight into that wok. One final toss so we can wilt those veggies, get a little bit of heat into them, and that is done. I'd place this in the middle of the table, or because I'm all by myself, I will just portion up a little bit for me, gather some of those noodles and pop them into a big bowl, along with a little bit of the mince. And that's another stir fry to add to your recipes. It's great using minced meat, a different texture, and it's fantastic with the noodles.